is now streaming live on YouTube.
Right. On paratalk.org, and we should be live on YouTube now. I think that's going to be popping up here in just a moment. Yes, it is. So,
Sorry.
Leave it to Linda.
Damn it. Why they got to call me now? Here, I muted it.
Sounds okay.
All right. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. My name is Sean Symons, PPG Grandpa. We're streaming live to clearproptv.com, and also the audio is going to paratalk.org. So if you're listening to us, you can always go to Clearprop TV and watch us and join us on YouTube if you want to ask us some questions. Who do we have here now? We have a bunch of people in the chat. Let's see, we got Kevin Can Fly. Welcome, Kevin Can Fly. JP Tulo, Brian Waller, Never Trust a Skinny Chef, Shane, Linda Anderson, and Phillip Anthony is our guest today. Today's topic is self-training. That's going to be pretty interesting. Has anybody self-trained other than Phillip?
Nope.
I think I kind of self-trained, but I had an instructor. However, he was 2 hours away. So every time that I wanted to get instruction, I had to drive there on a weekend that was flyable or good wind and, get instruction. What I really wanted him for was when I took my first flight is to have somebody in my ear and say, all right, pull down and give it throttle right and left. So that was pretty much what I had. But for about 4 months, I was kiting all by myself and trying to learn how to kite. So I don't know. Is that considered self-training? What is actual self-training? Is that when you have no instructor at all?
There's a lot of discussion about that. So what I consider, my opinion on what self-training is if you didn't you didn't pay for a training program, you didn't go and have somebody hold your hand from step 1 to step 2, 0 to hero in the week. Like if you went down to Aviator or any of the other schools around the country, Aviator's the closest one to me. You pay $2,500, $1,500, $750, depending on who you go with. You pay a lot of money and you spend about a week training. You have an instructor that basically takes you from nothing to full knowledge. That's, to me, that's trained. So anything that falls outside of that is the self-trained scope. So yes, you would kind of fall into that self-trained.
That's pretty,
in my opinion, in my view of that.
Yeah, I know that there's a lot of opinions out there as far as that's concerned. I've had people say that, well, if you paid anybody, that's not self-trained. If you have a buddy that flies and you have him in your ear when you're flying or when you take off for your solo, that's not self-training. But, I'm not quite sure what self-training means to a lot of people. So if you're in the chat right now and, hey, Crazy Uncle Bob, greetings. Thank you very, very much. Donation, so we appreciate you, sir. Thank you. Anybody in the chat, what do you think your definition, or what is your definition of self-training? Never trust a skinny chef. Shane, you are very new to PPG flying since November. You went to an actual school, correct?
Yes, I went to Four Winds PPG in in Avon Park.
And you trained for how long?
I was supposed to do 14 days per requested by my wife, but the last 2 days of the last 2 days of the last 2 weeks, the weather turned bad, so we couldn't even kite. And I decided to pack up and head to Swanee to do the fly-in. Well, not do the fly-in, to show up and I actually went home, dropped my gear off so no one could convince me that I should fly. And yeah, I went out, hung out, met a bunch of people, and started just learning from watching other people.
So what do you think? What do you think? What do you think the definition is of self-training? What would you?
I personally thought I knew everything I needed to know by watching hundreds, if not thousands, of hours of videos on YouTube. There's not a video out there that I hadn't seen. The how-tos, what to do, what not to do. Then I went to school and found out that I didn't know nothing. And I first day proved to myself I knew nothing. So.
Oh, we also got Kevin Can Fly in here. He's actually an instructor, been flying for many, many years, and has been teaching PPG, I think, for about 3 years. What do you think? What is your definition of self-trained, Kevin?
Well, I think that I'm right on with what Phil said. If you pay somebody to walk you through the whole process from not knowing how to unpack a wing all the way through to 10 flights, then that is what I call the definition of training. Self-training, though, on the other hand, has many, many facets. So if you're the person who watched everything from YouTube and then you went and spent, 6 months or a year learning to kite before you ever put a motor on your back and went the long way through, it's still self-training, but at least it's like slow progression. You learned as much as you could along the way. Then there's the flip side of that, where people go and buy a wing, a motor, watch several YouTube videos, head to the park, and then they just send it. So it's such a wide spectrum that it's really hard to just put one finger on it. But I think that the defining factor is whether you paid to have someone teach you or whether you didn't. I think that's, if you want to sum it up simple, that's where I'd go with it.
That sounds about right. And we're going to ask Brian Waller real quick, too. We know that he went to Aviator and hung out with Tucker Gott. But let's go ahead and ask Brian real quick. What do you think the definition is of self-training?
Free. No, I mean, YouTube, man. I did a V8 timing adjustment on my old truck. I've never done it before. Just by watching a YouTube video. I believe that you can learn almost anything on YouTube. But that being said, like Shane said, I watched a bunch of YouTube videos. I have experience flying with my dad, fixed wing aircraft, Rans S12, Quicksilver, that type of thing. So I've been flying, and my buddy said, man, just buy one, watch some YouTube videos, and you can do it. I got faith in you. Really the worst advice that somebody could give you, in my opinion. Same thing.
I agree.
I went down to Aviator. I decided I wanted to live, and I could afford the expense of training. It was supposed to be a 10-day class, so that got pushed back to 14-day classes right when our classes started. And I was lucky to be in the Tucker Gott giveaway class. I bought the T-shirt. That's it right there. I didn't win the giveaway, so I paid for my class. But no, the things that they teach you with the instructors that have been there and have seen it with hundreds of students, they know the problems that people normally make and exactly how to guide them. To me, that was invaluable. But I can see where somebody could do it. Teach yourselves. Obviously, you did, and good for you, man. I think the rumor down there was kind of like, yeah, you could do it, but you're going to end up wasting as much money on damaged equipment as you would have just to get the proper training in the first place. They kept mentioning how people with 2 weeks of training out of Aviator would show up at fly-ins and have more knowledge than people that have been flying for a couple of years with no proper training, like wing detanglement, just some things we would take for granted. So I think there's a lot to be proper training, but it's definitely doable to do on your own. Obviously you proved that.
Yeah, I think that is you kind of put it right. That is a rumor about damaging more equipment when you're self-trained, and it kind of makes up for the cost. When you self-train, you tend to be a little bit more cautious about every step of the way, or at least I was. I didn't damage any equipment. I actually, I kind of lied there. I did have one little crash, but it wasn't a training related incident. It was a, you know, it could have happened to any one of us. I caught a wind shift 180 degrees right on my landing. So I was in mid flare, pendulum swinged down into the ground because the wind shifted and kind of collapsed my wing right as I was landing, and I ate dirt. So I broke a prop.
That's what we call getting dumped.
Yeah, I you know, that wasn't anything that I wasn't prepared for. It wasn't anything that the training could have helped me do any differently. It was just it happened. So I wouldn't say that that was necessarily a self-training related cost. So for me, you know, I kind of did a hybrid for my self-training. I did, I think what Sean said he did. I spent a lot of time on YouTube. When I say a lot of time, probably close to 2 to 3 years watching people fly, watching people tell you how to fly. I actually went down to Lake Wales for a flight festival when I was back in RC drones. And I watched the Paradigm team fly and do their tricks and do acrobatics right in front of me. And that right there was when I knew I wanted to fly. But I don't have a lot of money, so I knew I had to kind of do it on a cheaper route. One of the other influences for me to take the self-training route is I kind of like the satisfaction of teaching myself something. You know, I'm self-taught mechanic. I'm a self-taught motorcycle mechanic now. I just started a new job where I'm working on motorcycles for a living. Never touched a motorcycle in my life. But I find pride in being able to find these skills and apply them and learn them, and not have somebody necessarily coach me and teach me and hand feed me those skills. That's kind of, there's a sense of pride that comes from learning yourself.
Well, and I will say that there is a lot to be said for the fact of aptitude. So certain people just naturally have more aptitude to certain things than others. So when it comes to the self-training aspect, some people need to be coached through the process. They'll struggle with it for a very long time. Whereas other people, they can watch a simple YouTube video, go out to the park, and within a day on their own can be kiting. So
Yeah.
it's a varying scale of personal aptitude, I think.
Yeah, it took me about 30 minutes to kind of, for it to click, for me to understand the wing.
So you control that?
Sorry, go ahead.
That's JP.
Yeah, so it was really, you know, it was really quick process for me. I wouldn't say I mastered the wing in 30 minutes, but I understood the process really quickly, and it made sense to me. Okay, you know, if I move this way, the wing does this. If the wing does this, I need to move. So I kind of understood the dance, and I think that's a lot of the hard part that people struggle with initially, and they need kind of coaching with that, because it doesn't make sense. It's not something that's intuitive. It's not something that you can just look at and go, oh, if I pull this way, it goes this way. It kind of does the opposite of some things that you want it to do sometimes, if you don't know, what to do. One of the first things I did was I went out and bought the Paramotor Bible, the PPG Bible.
Yay.
I read
you
that
know,
whole thing before class.
Yeah, I you know, it's one of those things, as an engineer and as somebody who just loves to study and read things, I didn't just read it once. I read it multiple times until I was able to just flip open the book and look at a section and almost immediately know where to look to find something.
What
be able
kind of
to be
engineer
able
are
to
you?
reference. I'm sorry?
What kind of engineer are you?
Mechanical.
Sweet, me too.
Yeah, cool. So I like to study things, and so that was one of the things I did. Like I said, I spent 2 years on YouTube. I spent a good amount of time. I don't know how many hours reading this book before I actually bought a wing, bought a harness, and decided to try kiting. And then I did kiting for 6 months before I even bought my motor. I didn't want the motor because I felt I would be tempted to try to hook up and go fly. So I wanted to make sure that I had really mastered kiting before I even gave it an attempt. So the final step that I actually did is I went and paid an instructor for 1 day to basically just be in my ear on my first flight. Just in case something went wrong, they would be able to tell me and I would be able to, handle it. I do value my life. I have a 11-year-old daughter, so I didn't want to risk anything by being stupid, because, there's a lot of things in the sport that you don't know what you don't know until somebody teaches you, and one of the things that I wanted to make sure was that I'd come back to the ground after my first flight. I figured if I did it once, I could do it again. And did it once, and it was easy. Once I got up there, I was like, oh, this is what I thought it was going to be. But I had years of preparation for that. And I think that's the difference. If I would have paid for training, it would have been maybe a week, less than a week of me knowing nothing to actually flying. So it took me a lot longer to do so. But
did you buy your own equipment?
Yeah. So I bought a used wing for $900 off of a Paramotor Pilot. I've been following the Paramotor for sale groups and just waited for one to come around in my price range that fit my weight limit and was within the year range that I had set for. I kind of set some parameters of gear that I was looking for. I wanted my motor to be as new as possible. I didn't want that to have basically any hours on it. When I bought my motor, I bought it used, but the pilot had never flown it. He did like 15 minutes of break-in and the thrust was too much, so he decided to sell it. So I ended up getting a really good deal on my motor, and it was brand new, never been flown. I paid $5,500 for that.
What motor was it?
It was a Evo Aviation, the Alpha, with a Moster 185.
185. There you go.
Yeah, MY19 though, not a 20, but can't be choosy.
Tony wants to know, what was the first thing that scared you?
The first thing that scared me, honestly, was turbulence. My wings, it's a MacPara Eden 26. It was one of the older, kind of hybrid, one of the first kind of paragliding / PPG wings. So it really lets you feel turbulence. It's more for paragliding. And when I get up there, it's not a reflex. So when you get thrown, you get thrown. When you feel bumps, it feels like you're getting tossed and ragdolled. Even the tiny little bumps, it throws you around.
Yeah, there's a lot of feedback.
So it's scary. That's the scary part for me. Takeoff wasn't really scary for me. Landing was scary the first time. After the first time, it was like, oh, that I was worried about that. To me, like the hardest part was dealing with the turbulence. That was the scariest and most difficult part to mentally kind of, and I'm still not over it. I still kind of, when it happens, I'm like, oh crap, I got to hold on to everything, and it just freaks me out. But
so
that's
when you first took your first solo, what time of the day was it?
I think it was around 5:30, 6 o'clock. It was definitely an evening flight. The winds were pretty calm. It was actually a very calm flight. My first flight, it was kind of funny with the instructor. I couldn't get in my seat. The flap on the Dudek Power Comfort had folded up underneath, and when I tried to sit into it, I basically folded the legs up into themselves, and I wasn't able to get into my seat. So I flew around for about 15 minutes hanging hanging from my groin. But
Oh,
yeah,
yikes.
I didn't feel anything. I was having a blast. So
You probably went into shock.
it was kind of scary. That was a little scary at first. But then I kind of just dealt with it. I was like, all right, I'm hanging, I'm flying around, I'm not going anywhere. Let's just keep going until, they tell me to come down. But what it kind of rewind a little bit, my takeoff, I had my Cena unit on the back of my helmet, which later learned that was a horrible placement for it, because as soon as I went to give it gas to take off, my head hit the back frame and disconnected my call with the instructor.
Oh,
And
no.
so I essentially did my whole takeoff on my own, because as soon as I gassed it up, I lost the call. So I'm up in the air on my own. He's down on the ground trying to recall me. I'm not able to let go yet, because I'm trying to get in my seat. So I'm not able to reach back and answer the call. So for about 15 minutes, I'm dangling around, flying around in circles, trying to get back in contact with the instructor on the ground. And
did you have any hand signals worked out at all before the flight?
No, like I said, it was just a daily kind of thing. I went down there and basically spent the afternoon kiting, waiting for the winds to get right, and then got on the comms with them, and we went flying. There wasn't there was no class. There wasn't, like I said, I wanted it to be more of a safety kind of thing, more of a safety net, more than an instruction. And so they ended up calling me back, and I was able to kind of quickly reach back and hit the answer button, and they got on the phone with me and guided me back down, and I landed. Actually, I have the video of all that. My takeoff was beautiful. My landing was beautiful. I just couldn't get in my seat.
You can do a screen share and show us.
What was the most frustrating part of training throughout the whole process for you?
The most frustrating part, honestly, would be kiting. Because I'm inland Florida, I don't have the smooth laminar winds that some of the beach coastal schools have, or some of the airports have. I don't know if you guys, you train out in the middle of an airport, it's a lot different than if you train out where there's a bunch of trees, because you get all the rotor. It's really hard to keep a wing stable where I was kiting, and for the longest time I didn't realize this. So I was basically fighting with my environment of where I was learning, and that's one of the reasons it kind of took me a while to kind of master the wing and master kiting, was because it took me a while to realize what rotor was. I didn't have an instructor teaching me, so I had to kind of figure all this stuff out on my own as I went along. And one of the important things for me to learn was rotor, because that's a big thing when you're flying, to be able to know that. So that's one of those things you don't know if you don't know, and they don't really teach that on YouTube. It's not one of those things that's really discussed. It is if you look for it, but it's not really talked about as this is how you fly kind of thing. Or this is how to avoid death. Don't fly into rotor, because that's a bad thing. So, that's one of those things that you kind of have to have the aptitude to, or not the aptitude, the willpower to kind of seek that knowledge out. If you don't have the desire to seek that knowledge out, it can be very dangerous really quickly.
Rotor is like the only thing right now that you really weren't able to learn and understand during your 2 years of online training?
So there was a couple things, but mostly rotor. Weather is one of the things that you kind of have to really seek that information out. It's not something that people just spoon feed to you. It's one of those things where that's more of a journey thing, unless you pay for it, the training. You kind of have to teach yourself the weather. You have to teach yourself aviation, the airspace. You have to teach yourself the 103 rules. You have to, I mean, there's a lot to it that YouTube kind of only glosses over, and they make it seem so easy. And I think the reason why is a lot of people want to get more people into the sport. So they kind of make it seem like, oh, this is easy. You just tug some cords and press the gas and go. And I think there's another product out right now. I think the Sky Car that actually kind of emphasizes that even more, and kind of scares me, because that could be perceived as, oh, this is so simple. If you can drive a car, you can fly. Well, it's not the case. There's a lot more to this than just steering and gas. And one of the things I want to stress to people is, self-training. Even though I did it, I wouldn't recommend it. It's not one of those things that you should really risk your life with. But it was one of those things to me that was part of my adventure. That was part of my journey. I kind of didn't want to do it any other way. Initially, I did sign up for Aviator. I signed up and was on their wait list for 2 years. That was why I was waiting. And eventually I decided to do it myself. I'm happy I did, but I kind of wish that, and eventually I probably will go get some training, not a full-fledged course, but maybe just go see what I don't know, or what I missed out on. And I'm definitely going to take some SIV. That's my next step, SIV course.
I'm doing an SIV course August 8th and 9th with Andrew Fuller.
Whoa,
Yeah.
Shane. Whoa.
Oh, yeah.
Shane. Whoa.
Yep. I think that's one of the understated things that isn't really talked about as much, that needs to be, is an SIV. I think that should be part of main instruction, actually. Because it's one of those things that's really one of the keys to safety, is knowing like what happens up there and how to handle it and how to not freak out. Because I did cave diving, and one of the things about that is you can't panic. If you panic, you die. And I think that applies to this too, this sport. If you panic, you're in trouble. You don't do the right things at the right time, you can put yourself in a deeper position that you can't get out of. And I think it's important for people to know that.
Exactly. Well, Phillip, you're doing like really awesome. I think you'll be a great mentor to a lot of these new guys out there, trying to learn everything.
I mean, I hope. I hope.
I learned a lot tonight, just listening to you about, that you did it on your own at first and everything. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of negative stigma around it, and I understand why. They don't want people to do it. I don't want people to do it. But if you think you can do it, if you think that's your personality type, is that I do everything myself, I've taught myself everything, if that's just who you are, go for it. But if it's something that, you even have to ask, should I do it? You probably shouldn't do it. It's one of those things, if you have to ask, it's not for you.
I don't know if I heard you or not, but when was your solo?
Like how many months ago? Or because I just started flying this year. Okay. My solo, I think, I can look at the date of the video. It was
so a follow-up question on that is how many flights do you have or hours do you have on your motor? Do you know?
So I have about 25 hours on my motor. And like I said, I bought it with 15 minutes on it. So I don't have a whole lot of flights. My job kind of took a dump when the whole coronavirus thing hit. So it was in the middle of coronavirus that I was starting to learn to fly. But the date that I actually have for this was March. So March 7th, I think, was my first solo.
You're a newbie.
Oh yeah. I'm still fairly fresh.
That's
I mean, you've got more hours on your motor than I do in 9 months, so you're good, man.
You know, it's like I said, I got gung ho about it, so I would, you know, just go every weekend. But we've kind of had some bad weather lately, and so I haven't had the money really for fuel or anything like that. So I've just been kind of chilling, doing adult life things for the past couple of weeks.
Speaking about fuel, what have you learned about as far as fuel? What is your best oil that you used, and your gasoline, and how'd you learn your maintenance?
So I use Motul 800. I haven't done my maintenance yet. That's one of the, I just started a new job. I'm waiting on, you know, money to kind of roll through. And then I'll kind of take care of that. But I use Motul 800. And I just use 93 octane pump fuel. I don't use aviation. The airport that if I was to need to go get aviation fuel every time I fly from my backyard, is kind of far away. My LZ is my backyard, so I don't want to have to drive too far to go get gas. So the nearest airport for me is like an hour away for
Oh, wow.
aviation fuel. So I'd rather just use pump fuel.
Do you use like Lucas stabilizer or anything in the fuel, or do you just use regular straight pump fuel and Motul?
I just use regular straight pump and Motul. I don't store it long. Like right now, I've actually got stuff in there that I need to kind of get out of there and clean out. But if I'm going into storage, I kind of run some seafoam through the motor. I did that with my dirt bikes. It's a good practice to keep the carburetor clean. You just run it through the carburetor a little bit while it's running and then shut it off.
Right.
I put seafoam in every time I go fly.
Yeah, it's really good stuff. But I like I said, I don't really store the gas very long because 93 does kind of break down when you mix it with oil. The oil and 93, they kind of work against each other and they don't really stay mixed and they kind of break down. So it's not good to keep it for too long unless you do like what you said, put a stabilizer in it. I'm a cheap bastard, so I just go I do everything as cheap and simple as possible.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
I just found that one of those $15 bottles of Lucas fuel stabilizer, it lasts me for quite a long time, but I'm fortunate right around the corner from me is a gas pump with non-ethanol, so I just run premium.
Oh, so they have non-ethanol pumps here. I didn't know what the deal with that was. I didn't know.
So the biggest thing about ethanol fuel, non-ethanol fuel is the alcohol content in the fuel will actually soften the membrane within the carburetor. And then it doesn't happen extremely quickly, but over time the membrane starts to become soft and then it basically quits pumping fuel.
Same thing happens in my WRX.
Yeah.
if I run ethanol.
Exactly. And then and then all the seals and everything start leaking, everything. The fuel lines don't like it. So it just in essence, if you have the ability to run non-ethanol, that's the best for it. Pump gas is not bad. Like if you go out for a weekend and that's what's available to you, it's not necessarily going to hurt the motor. But that's why I keep around a little bottle of stabilizers. If I go out to the coast and fly the coast and I go, oh shoot, I didn't bring enough gas with me because I actually am going to fly a whole lot more than I planned on, then I'll throw, I think it's like 10 milliliters per gallon. So it's like basically nothing. But it just stabilizes out the alcohol content so it doesn't soften up the membranes in the carburetor.
Yeah, it makes sense. Same reason with my car. If I run ethanol in it.
But a lot of people they have a misconception in their mind about running avgas, and they think that the avgas is going to be somehow better. The reason why it's not is because there's lead content. So when you run the lead content through a two-stroke, the two-stroke's so inefficient when it comes to its fuel burn process that it leaves the lead deposits behind on the head. So if you ever watched the Tucker video when he did the Icarus race, when he got done and he pulled his head off, it was coated in what looked like sulfur. That sulfur is all the unburned lead deposits that build up in the head.
Yeah.
An airplane motor, as it goes to altitude, there's a mixture control. So they're able to lean the motor out and they don't have the fuel content, which is what we can't do. And so that's why running avgas is not the best thing possible.
Right.
if you wanted to run high performance, then then you go get the freaking, was it $60 for 5 gallons of VPC 12?
Right. Right.
And unless you're sponsored, it's really not justified at all.
You know why they put lead in gasoline in the first place? It's actually a
Yeah, lubrication and cooling.
Yep.
So it's not bad. I've only flown with Avgas once, and it was the best flight I ever had. I mean, as far as good pressure, good control, the best RPMs I had, the best power. So when I went back to 91 non-ethanol, I could tell a difference.
Well, what people don't realize about fuel content is there's no more or no less combustion energy between 87 octane and 91 octane, or even 110 octane. The stored energy and the stored energy in fuel is a given stored energy. And actually 87 octane is going to give you more potential energy because it burns faster. So when you use a higher octane fuel, you get a higher combustion resistance. So as it burns through the cylinder, you get a longer burn duration, which in essence gives you more torque. So instead of having more horsepower, the more torque makes your motor feel more linear. So it gives you a lot smoother throttle response.
It's also better for the engine the higher the octane, because you have less chance of it knocking, less chance of detonation as well.
Exactly.
I have never run anything but aviation fuel and Red Armor. What is it? Echo Red Armor.
Yeah, my one of my friends, he's a pilot, local pilot. He does the same thing. Aviation fuel and Echo, the Red Echo. Yeah, as he swears by
After
it.
I watched The Gods Must Be Crazy, I just switched to pure Scotch. It runs like a top.
Lordy Kevin.
So, hey, Philip. So I hear what part of Florida are you in, man?
I'm up in Jacksonville.
Jacksonville. Okay.
Yeah. I'm on the East
the very
Coast.
southeast corner of Alabama. I was hoping to find me somebody close by to fly with.
Oh man, no, I do have family up by Milton though, up in Pensacola.
Okay. Well, cool, man.
Go out there occasionally. Yeah.
Phil, I'm in Central Florida, on the East Coast.
Yeah. Okay. Where? What city?
Melbourne.
Oh, nice. Cool.
About 3 hours south of you.
I was told that north part of Florida isn't technically Florida; it's something else.
We kind of do separate ourselves, because when we hear the Florida man stories, we're always like, oh, there it goes again, and we always know where it is too. It's usually south of Central Florida,
like right around Melbourne.
A little bit further south.
Yeah, it's usually
Palm Bay.
Yeah, it's usually about Palm Bay, Miami, Fort Lauderdale. Those areas are really rough.
Yep.
I have a question. Since we've been talking about the two-stroke oil, let's go through PPG. Let us know what you use as a two-stroke, and if you would recommend or want to go something different. I started off with the K2, and then I went to Sabre, and the difference was night and day as far as the amount of carbon left on the head. Now, when I went to Sabre, every time I pulled the head to scrub it off and make it look pretty, there's just nothing there.
What are you running the mixture?
50-1.
50-1 with Sabre. So Sabre is a pretty clean burning oil. It's a little bit ashy on the exhaust side, but overall it's not too bad.
What are you using, Kevin?
I use Klotz Super Technoplate.
Have you used Sabre before?
Only in different like weed whackers and things like that. I've never used it in anything that was performance.
Really? I heard that Sabre was really good for performance, like in the paramotors.
I honestly I ran it in my boat for a little while, and I didn't have any issues with it. And when I ran it in my boat, I had a 125 horsepower Johnson outboard 4-cylinder, and it ran fine. I didn't have any issues. But when I grew up racing Supercross, I was sponsored by Klotz. They were one of the oil sponsors for our team. And in all of the races that I rode, in all of the practices that I rode, in all of the desert trips that I took, I never once had a bike fail on me due to lubrication. So I always had epic faith and trust in it. So when I got my paramotor, I knew that it had to be rebuilt at some future point. And so I didn't care who had run what in it before. I just went straight to the clots and ran it until I had the top end kill itself. I did my rebuild, and ever since my rebuild, I've had absolutely no issues. The thing runs fantastic. So I still stand by it.
It's interesting. And Philip, would you say that you use as far as your two-stroke?
I'm sorry.
Philip, would
Oh,
you?
so I use multiple 800. Yeah.
Okay.
Multiple 800 and 93 pump.
And Brian, what do you use?
Yeah, the same thing. The Motul 800 Aviator. Of course, my motor's still under warranty. I bought it new through Aviator, and they told me that if you don't run Motul through it and you have a manufacturing, issue with it, if they take it apart, if you ran any other kind of oil through it, they would be able to tell it by the deposits in it. I'm not sure.
Viterazzi won't honor the warranty apparently.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's true. Obviously, that's why I'm running it, but we've always run aviation fuel. I wouldn't call it aviation fuel, ethanol-free fuel from the pump. We had a source where we always got 93 octane ethanol-free. We lost that, but now we got a source where we get 90. And I was told that's what the manufacturer recommended was 90 octane.
So if you read the updated release from Viterazzi, what they actually recommend is if you're doing a lot of high altitude climbing, long duration, high RPM runs, to run Motul 800. But if you're a cross country pilot that flies primarily in the low to mid range RPMs, to actually use Motul 710.
Right.
Because the
yeah,
710
that I had when I'm down training.
And the biggest difference between the two of them, and what a lot of people don't realize, is it's the flash point. It's where the oil becomes vapor. So like with my Klotz oil, if you compare it to the Motul 800, they both have an above 500 flash point. Whereas if you compare it to, like, say, the Dominator or the Sabre oils, their flash points are at like the high 3s and low 400 degree flash points.
Because they're made for weed whackers and lawnmowers, not
exactly. So
150 plus cc motors.
Yeah. So if you're, and that's another big component to the duration of how your motor lasts. If you're a guy that's flying, say, like a 26 or 28 meter wing, and you generally cruise right around, say, about 3,000 to 4,000 RPMs, and that's what you do 9 times out of 10 flights. And the only time you see wide open is when you're getting off the ground or trying to climb up over something. You probably aren't risking anything by running that kind of oil. But if you constantly are making runs to altitude to do wing overs, or if you're constantly doing something that's, running your motor hard for long durations, if you're one of those guys that likes to go to high altitude, something like that, then running an oil with a higher flash point is going to give your crank, because a lot of people fail to understand the oil does very little for the piston. The piston doesn't necessarily care about the oil as much as the bottom end does. So if you're flashing the oil and turning it into vapor as it goes through the crank, then it's not lubrication, because it's not a liquid, it's a vapor. So the higher flash point keeps that oil as a liquid as it hits the moving components. So that's
Kevin, I do have a question for you, if you could answer. I've been told if you run avgas often, if you run pump gas afterwards, that it would take away all the lead deposits.
I don't know that would be true. I would think that to be more of a wives' tale, but like Sean does, I think if you were to, say, run avgas for a weekend or maybe a duration, and then run some seafoam or some kind of cleansing agent through with your two-stroke, it might help to keep that out. Or if you were to run the seafoam beforehand and then have kind of like that built up viscous layer in the cylinder, it might help keep it from depositing as well. But I haven't seen evidence, that Shell gasoline or Chevron with Techron or any one of those fancy go-getches does anything special as far as cleaning the head or the cylinder.
Speaking of special, we got a guest in the chat there, Craig Taylor from Wicked Wings logo. If you guys like this, my background, that flag right there, and the cancer ribbon that's on the center of my wing, that man right there made it. He can make you
Taylor.
What's
So
up,
I'd like
Craig?
to take this
What's
opportunity
up,
to let
Craig?
everybody know that
Craig in the
Craig
house.
Taylor has now just become a sponsor of the show and is going to be sending everyone on the panel a nice new wing logo. Thanks,
All
Craig.
right.
I won't
Golly.
name any names, but I've been
And
seeing
new
you
wings.
around for a long time.
Oh, and the wing? Perfect.
And a wing.
No,
Hey guys,
Craig-
I gotta get going. I appreciate you guys having me on though.
Hey, thanks for taking the time. We
Philip.
really appreciate it, Phil.
Yes,
I
sir.
Before you
appreciate
take off,
you.
Philip, just one last question, man.
Yeah, what's up?
If you had it all to do over with again and money wasn't an issue, no, say money was an issue, would you still self-train? I mean, if money was tight,
Me personally, yes. Like I said, initially it was a money issue, and then it became an adventure that I enjoyed very much. But that's my personality type. I do that for a lot of things.
I'm the same way.
You can't. I don't take my car to a mechanic. Why do something? Why pay somebody else to do something I can do myself? Is kind of the way my whole life has been lived, with everything. So that was it. That was
Good.
my-
man, I wish you the best of luck, and I hope you have
Thank
a lot
you.
of flights in your
Thank
future.
you, Philip.
Thank you guys.
Appreciate it.
Have
Appreciate
fun.
ya.
Thanks for coming, man.
Safe
Safe.
skies.
Well, that was,
Here we are.
and he self-trained, but he had an instructor in his ear on his solo. So we're still up in the air, pardon the pun, about what is self-training. I still don't know, but we have Tommy Mosley in here also. He came in, JP Tulo. I guess we can
Yeah.
ask JP real quick, and also Linda, because we didn't ask Linda yet. JP, what is your definition of self-training?
Okay. There's this video I've been trying to find the entire show while I'm lurking here in the background of this guy. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, please speak up because I can't find it now. But it's this guy who goes out and buys a Black Hawk, whatever, does no research whatsoever.
It's called
and-
I Learned to Fly from YouTube.
Yeah, that's what you already know. You already know. Okay, that was the name of it. Okay.
I'm an instructor. It's my job to know these things.
I knew exactly what he was talking about.
That's the video. Okay,
Step
well,
by step. Step by
dude goes
step.
out there, he gets a Black Hawk, right? And
Has his harness rigged up completely wrong. He's
the
like, I
net
got
is
zip
hanging
ties,
off the
don't worry.
cage.
I
Yeah,
got
the
zip
net is
ties,
hanging off
don't
the
worry.
cage, so he zip ties it to the frame. He's got straps hanging all over. The straps go together
No.
right here, but he goes, no, I think I'll just leave them unstrapped because why not?
Because who knows the
and-
difference?
Right. And there's a guy that knows how to fly there, and he's like, man, if I don't do something, this guy's obviously going to kill himself. So then that's the guy making the video, and he catches so much crap in the comments for helping him. But I think he was caught between a rock and a hard place, because he even mentions it, like, if you don't help people like this, they're going to do it anyways. And it's so dangerous. And I think that right there is the definition of the self-train stigma that we all look at and get scared, and we don't want to be defined like that. I think our guest there was the exact opposite. I think he researched the crap out of the sport and did it the right way. I think it can be done in a right way, and
Well, like I tell people that come out to come and see what training is about. They might have a wing and they go to the park and they've tried to kite several times, and it's funny that they can understand the gross idea of what they're trying to do, but it's the finesse. They don't understand that twitching your wrist just 2 or 3 centimeters is the difference between having the wing take you off of your feet or controlling it up to a nice, happy, controllable reverse launch, or when you are moving forward, you know, when you hear them go, well, what am I supposed to be feeling for? And it's like, well, if I have to explain that to you, that's why you should be having training, because it's the finesse. I mean, the big part of this is easy. This bring the wing, it goes downwind of you, pull on the strings until the thing goes into the sky, and do the best you can to sort it out, right? It's the finesse of understanding this particular wing likes to come up from just the center A's, not all of the A's. Or this particular wing likes to have its wingtips roll in on you. So when you build your wall, you need to make it really high so that way you hold the wing all the way open. I mean, there's just little idiosyncrasies between the different types of wings, and then different personalities. Like you watch people try to do a reverse launch, but they do it from an athletic stance, and one hip is cocked back, and then they go, well, I don't understand why the wing always goes up and goes to the left every time. And you go, well, I can explain to you 9 times that your hips have to be square to the wing, but you always want to start in an athletic stance, which is always going to make it wrong. And no matter how many times I tell you, you do it anyway. So you'll have to learn. You'll have to sit there and beat the wing up 900 times and reset yourself 900 times until it finally slams you in the brain that you have to square yourself up. I mean, it's that finesse that you can tell someone. I can make a video that tells people how to put their hands on the risers. I can make a video that tells people how to stand and how to use their hips to weight shift. And I can sit there and do it with a student. I can physically put my hands on the lines and show them. And some people, they just snap and they go, oh, I got that. And they go do it, no problem. And other people spend a whole day, and at the end of the day, they turn around and they tell you, oh, I tried different things because I was trying to get creative. And you go, there's no creative in this. There's a way to do it that works for everyone. It's not my way. It's not like I'm sitting here telling you I'm special. This is the way that works. If you follow along with the Jane Fonda 7-minute abs workout, then you're going to have 7-minute abs. Come on, man. Like, quit trying to fight it. It is what it is. And if you're not satisfied, I'll send you the 8th minute for free.
Oh my God. Jane Fonda.
That was pretty funny.
Oh Lord.
But I mean, seriously, it's the finesse that goes into it that makes it what it is. You know, when you see a pilot make a launch or a landing look easy, it's not because the landing is difficult or is easy. It's just that they can finesse the glider into the ground and make that landing look gentle as could be, especially in some conditions that might scare some people. Or they can launch the wing, take off, and go 30 degrees crosswind and get up out of some place that a beginner is going to go, I don't even know how he did it. And it's all comes down to the finesse and the skills, because none of it is immediate. Everything is built up and everything's over time. And the hard part is you don't ever get that depth from watching a video. Nobody ever turns around and says, well, this video took me 19 weeks and 67 shots and 45 freaking torn up lines in a prop before I finally got it all sorted out. They just show you an edited clip that makes them look like they learned something. And you don't really get to see all of that. And so when you go self-train, you either go when the wind is too strong and it scares you, or you go when the wind is wrong and there's no wind to really help you learn anything, or you get the wrong wing and that doesn't really help you learn anything, or you get an old motor that is really not good to be flying or in any shape to be called safe. And then you turn around and you're upset because you didn't know the difference because you were excited to buy stuff. And now you spent what little money you had on some gear that isn't even flyable at this point, and now you're defeated. So
I think that
the self-training route. Sorry, go ahead.
That was my main thing, man, that I didn't get through with self-training versus getting an actual class. I didn't know which gear I needed. I was like, I don't know exactly which motor I need, what type of wing. I know I want a safe wing, but I did some research and like, okay, I can buy an A-rated wing, this type or another, but is that really the wing that I want to start out on? And that's probably what I got most out of from my training. Just having somebody there to tell me these little hand movements.
Like from an instructor standpoint, I can't tell you how many students come to me and then they say, oh, well, I've been watching Tucker Gott videos, or I've been watching, freaking Graham's videos or Anthony Velo's videos, or Tom Kubat, somebody who's doing barrel rolls and wing overs and flying a 16 or an 18 meter wing, and then the first thing they're asking is, well, I watched Matt Minyard do barrel rolls on a 16 meter, so that means I'd be okay on a 21, right? And you're like, you don't even have a concept. It's like you're like I feel like it's like as a parent, it's like you're the 15-year-old or 16-year-old coming to me saying, Dad, I'm ready to drive. And you go, okay, you got your learner's permit, we're ready to send you out there around the block. And the first thing they say is, I want that brand new Corvette RS Camaro freaking tire slayer, whatever. And you're like, you're gonna get grandma's Buick, and I guarantee you're gonna bump. I guarantee you're gonna bump a curb or two before you get it figured out. And if you bump a curb in that beautiful Corvette, it's gonna be ruined. You bump a curb in the Buick, you're just gonna wreck the curb. You're not even gonna hurt the Buick. But it's that progression, it's like some guys, they don't understand that it's not a bad thing to start out new. I mean, I don't know any other way to put it. It's actually very humbling to start something that's a lifelong marathon and understand that you're at the beginning of something that it's not just a hobby. It's like we all start this with an understanding that there's more to it. But as we learn more to it, we learn that there's so much more to it. And it doesn't become a hobby as much as it becomes a lifestyle. On Saturday at a barbecue, you're looking at the clouds going, wow, these kind of clouds means that these are thermals, and these thermals go to this height. And the width versus the height means the way that the clouds build or the way that the clouds break apart means, and you just start seeing the world in such a different point of view. And I tell people, I say, it's like everyone looks at me and they say, I'm the weird one. And I say, well, I'm not weird. I'm extraordinary because I do extraordinary things. People around me, they are ordinary. They mow lawns, they go to work, they do normal things. This is what, quote, normal people do. And I'm the weird one in the corner. I talk about flying. I see the world in a physics basis, and I do extraordinary things. So from my standpoint, I'm not the weird one. I'm just the extraordinary one who goes and does extraordinary things.
Oh, there you go. All right, Kevin.
I can't imagine
for letting me know that. Kevin,
I can't imagine wanting to rush training anyways. I mean, if you get into flying, for me, it was thinking, I have the rest of my life to do this. I'd like to spend the rest of my life doing it. I don't want to jump on a wing too small, get hurt and end a career, or scare myself out of the sport.
Or run into a bale of hay, break a leg, and take a few months off.
There you go.
Didn't tell me nothing about bales of hay, man.
Don't be Brian. Don't be Brian. No.
I don't know if you guys get this, but pretty much every time I pull up to a gas station or a convenience store or whatever, I always get the standard questions. How much does it cost? Does it take a license? And then the grand one, how dangerous is it? And the way I like to compare it to people, I say, if you've ever ridden a motorcycle down the street, whether it be a Harley or a street bike, it doesn't matter. But if you were the only person on the road, take away all the cars, take away all the herds of elk and deer and dogs and everything else that could run out in front of you and cause you to wipe out, and it was just you and the bike in the road, how safe would you feel? It would come down to you, right? As a rider, if you come up to corners, if you're a cautious rider and you go slow and you take the corners cautiously, you probably won't crash. But if you're adventurous and you come through the corners hot and fast, you might lose a front wheel and end up in a guardrail. It's the same safety factor when it comes to flying. We can fly reserved and take less chances and always operate on the side of caution and safety, or we can shoot the gap, wind up a little left, rip off a foot, and learn lessons from it. So, I mean, there's both sides to it. But, I mean, it wasn't like you had a mechanical failure that took you out. It was just a commitment and an accident, and then the learning lesson where you say, well, hopefully I'll never do that again because I learned getting low sucks. And if you're going to commit to it, you better make it right, right? and I don't mean to use it as a bad analogy. It's just Brian's on the show. He's right here. He can speak for himself. It's just we learn from mistakes. And as it was put one time, a wise man learns from his mistakes. A wiser man learns from others' mistakes.
Yeah.
So we always want to use somebody who's been there ahead of us as that word of wisdom to tell us where we're going wrong or where the pitfalls are.
There you go. Well said, Kevin.
I'm surprised I haven't pulled a Brian yet. I'm just saying.
Pulled a Brian. I like that.
Don't do it.
I'm surprised the people on the ATV didn't report you to the FAA for causing them to get into wheeling 3 people on a quad accident.
They threw themselves off there. I just happened to be, it's a fisheye camera, so it looks a little odd, but it looks like I was over them, but I wasn't.
You did it on purpose. I know it.
How can I make 3 guys fall off the back of a freaking 4-wheeler as I'm flying by them?
Because it was all your fault. It doesn't matter how you did it.
They did not see me until they were laying on their backs going, oh, that guy just saw me. Oh, that guy just saw me crash with 3 people.
The FAA inspector will argue.
Shane, you got a story to tell because I don't know this one. What happened?
There's a video. There's 3 guys were cutting across the compound, and 2 of them were sitting, I guess, one was sitting on one side of the back of the 4-wheeler, the other one was sitting on the other side. So they were kind of like the dude driving in the center, and then the 2 were kind of like.
It's a UTV style 4-wheeler, so it has the big metal rack over the back and the front. So you got 2 guys that are hanging out on the back rack, and then 1 guy sitting on the seat in the middle.
So I come scooting in behind them, and they go down this ditch, and as they come up the other side, the guy that's driving just punches the throttle, and it just stands straight up and dumps the 2 guys off the back. And just as I go screaming by, you see the guy, the driver, hanging on the handlebars, looking up at me like, oh, you saw that? That sucks. The cooler goes.
Oh my God.
Oh, it's hilarious. It's hilarious. But you see that kind of stuff out of the compound happen all the time. Oh man, hold on.
I mean, it's Florida, so.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. I think there's just 2 more people that we have asked what they think self-training is. So Linda, what is your definition of self-training?
Of the self-training?
Yeah, what is the definition of self-training to you?
Crazy.
What's that?
No,
The
I say
definition is crazy.
That is crazy. Personally, no, I would not try to do the self-training. No.
I can see Linda with her face in her palm. She's going, that boy just ain't right. That boy ain't right.
That's me when I'm on the shore every week. What the heck is going on here? No, I love you guys. No, I would, I don't know, I like Kevin, you're saying, about going flying and sometimes you not know what you're doing, whatever. That's kind of the same thing with rodeo, You're like, get on the rough stock or get on that bull and, oh yeah, I got this. You don't have to show me. Really? No, that's kind of like disaster.
Yeah, so
sport it is, you got to have the mind frame, you got to have the safety, and you got to be smart about the whole thing and do it right so you don't kill yourself. So with any sport, I think
so I gotta give a quick shout out to my man with the plan over here, Mr. Paramotor Crazy Dave. He's been advertising his Fresh Breeze and his wing for what I would consider a wild amount of money for a Fresh Breeze, but according to him, he sold it. So congratulations on
$7,300.
Swindling some poor soul.
Yes. David Wolf. Yes.
Yeah. Dave Wolf.
He sold it?
He just posted in the chat. He says, I just sold my Fresh Breeze tonight. So
okay,
congratulations, sir. Congratulations.
There you go then.
Hopefully it was back to Kurt. He can freaking try to swindle someone else's life. I
live.
make no claims. I know the man personally, none at all.
Well, I've never met him, but I've been seeing his name in chats for a long time. So, hey, Paramotor Crazy. How you doing, man? I didn't know you were Dave Wolf.
There you go. Look at
Yeah,
you, Brian, with your puppy right there.
I
And
saw it
Brad.
posted to the paramotor groups, and I saw he posted it on his Instagram, and it's a really nice machine. I was surprised. I actually thought it had more hours on it than it did, or he's telling a fib, one or the other. But either way, it's a really nice, clean setup. So good for him. Happy, very happy.
I seen
There
it
you
run
go.
personally at the Swanee Fly-In. They were drag racing it.
I mean, the thing sucks so bad it takes 2 propellers to get it going.
Didn't he ramp that at the
Man.
Swanee flying?
I
Dude,
did have
oh yeah,
I
so
did have
that
a
was
video of him
hilarious.
bunny hopping that.
They did trike drag races down the runway, and Dave got that thing ripping like 45, 50 miles an hour and hit a little sawed rise. And I think that whole trike got off the ground without a wing for a minute.
Yeah.
There was a bunny hop that he did. I was there, stood right there and watched it.
And
That's
now,
That's
pretty
pretty
cool.
sweet.
real quick, just in case you didn't know, Tommy Mosley, he is a guy that that's around here, and we go fly a lot. Matter of fact, one of the things that we want to do probably next weekend is to go fly someplace, land, grab a bite, fly back and eat it, kind of like Tucker did, which is why probably most of us is here, because we saw him fly to McDonald's, and we haven't done that yet. But anyway, Tommy, real quick, what do you think is the definition of self-training? Is it, just learning everything from the internet, or is it having like your friend helping you, or what is your definition of self-training?
I mean, I kind of think that I have an instructor. I have a very good instructor, but for the most part, he'd tell me, all right, work on this, go kite, come back. It was nice to have somebody. I can't imagine taking my first flight without a training hill. I think that takeoffs and landings were very beneficial to know what it was going to feel like to land, how much flare I needed. And I can't imagine being on a training hill without an instructor telling me, hey, the winds are a little crazy and you're going to break your back if you take a collapse over this. It's too much. Or, hey, this is the perfect amount of wind for a training hill day. Without having somebody there that at least has some experience, for me, it wasn't much of an option. I've got people that rely on me. I got, bills to pay, mouths to feed. So for me, I think self-training was out of the question for me. Having somebody there that knows what they're talking about, finding the gear that I needed for the things I wanted to do. I'd be out there, like Kevin said, with a 16-meter snake, and first time I get off the ground, just be scared to death, thinking that's what I'd want whenever it's a 16-year-old kid not realizing he's about to destroy himself, with the Corvette scenario. So I think that self-training, it could be for some people. Wasn't for me at all. I needed somebody there saying, hey, this is safe. Hey, this is the perfect wind for this. I think that
Well,
self-training is only
I'll
for
be the
certain
first one.
people.
I'll be the first one to admit, I did the grand old, I'm young, stupid, I race supercross and I fly dirt bikes, so I'm big and brave and I can do anything I want. And I jumped on the interwebs back before there was interwebs, and I got a stupid dirt cheap wing and a dirt cheap harness. And when I mean dirt cheap, I mean I got them both together for like $250. And I went to the, yeah. And I went because I didn't know any different. Honestly, what do you, how do you know that what you got was crap if you didn't know the difference, right? So I went to the park, and there at the time there was no YouTube or anything. It was just take it out there and go mess with it. So I drug that thing around in the grass for a whole year and a half or so. And then right behind my house was a flying site down in California. So we would go take the dirt bikes, and I'd have my buddy ride me up on the back of his dirt bike or on the back of his quad. And then we'd unpack the wing and unpack the harness, lay it all out, and then I'd run off the side of the hill and fly down to the bottom, basically do sled rides. And then he'd pick me up on the quad and ride me back up to the top. And he thought it was like the coolest thing to watch me do these sled rides. He thought I was crazy until, we got to the point where I was going off the top of the hill, the very top. And we're talking, it's like a 3,000 foot hill. And so, you know, sled rides turned into you eventually you either catch lift or catch thermals. It just happens. And then you stay up. And when you start staying up, it's like you start laughing. You're like, I'm doing it, Peter. I'm thinking my happy thoughts. This is great. You know, no reserve, sketchy wing, just totally as unsafe as possible. And because it was an actual flying site, I had got to know some of the guys in the area, and a few of them had taken a liking to me, I guess you'd say. And so one guy came over to me one day and he kind of threw his arm over my shoulder and he said, Kev, you know, we all like you. and we want to keep liking you, basically, is what he said. And so they really encouraged me to spend the money and go and get not only a proper wing and harness, but actually to learn those intermediate gaps that I was falling apart with, because I just, like you said, I didn't know, you know, that I didn't have the skills to go launch at 2:30 in the afternoon in the California desert. I just thought, hey, the wind is 15 miles an hour. It's perfect. Let's go. You know, not realizing that the thermals that day were going to be between 7 and 12 meters a second.
Uh-oh.
Now we just got demonetized. We just got demonetized due to inappropriate.
I sure hope he has pants on.
Never mind that.
Don't you know that there's no fabric allowed in the hot tub?
I'm having a little celebratory beer to get rid of Fister. I have my Fresh Breeze.
This is perfect. I got a special one for you right now, Dave. You're holding it in your hand. Look at it. Look at the label. Look at the label and follow along. Because you deserve what every individual should experience regularly.
And listen, if Dave stands up, you're gonna see
the bush.
Hey guys,
monetized for sure.
Oh,
is this what episode is it? Is this episode new 1 or is this episode 10 now?
We have no clue, David.
We just make up random numbers at this point. It's like kindergarten. We just pick an alphabet and go.
I want to congratulate you on getting this thing started and getting this thing rolling. It's, as you know, it's tough to do it and keep it going. I love what I just heard as far as like self-training. You don't know what you don't know, right? And it's better to have somebody here. The guy that I sold this Fresh Breeze to, he is a vet. He's an older gentleman. He's flown Quicksilvers, so he knows how to fly, and I felt real comfortable about that. He's still going to get trained on how to fly this thing, and I gave him some advice, and so I'm feeling good about that. But that's good to see you guys. I'm so glad that there's a show tonight.
Look at you just showing up in the hot tub. Oh
Oh,
my God. Aren't you
Hello,
like
Linda.
rocking it tonight? Man,
I don't have to always be in the studio, right?
so wrong. So wrong.
What's up, Sean? Sean, we've never talked, Sean. And I don't want to take away from your guests, so I can bug out here. I don't want to take away from your guests. That's important.
The guest already left.
Yeah,
What's
the
that?
guest already left.
Oh,
The guest,
This is the after show where we drink beer.
You're the
are we in the after
spontaneous.
show? I thought the show
You're
started.
the spontaneous hop on.
Wait a minute, what time did the show start?
it's only 8. It's usually about an hour long is all it is normally.
yeah.
All right, I'm sorry.
No,
I'll
then
have
we
to go back and watch the
No,
beginning.
you're fine. Hang with us. You're
I
all
thought it was
good,
9 o'clock.
David. No,
it is. It's
you're all-
9:13.
No, you're good, buddy.
you're all
Well,
good.
so everyone that's out there right now, thank you all for watching. We are actually now officially in the after show. You're more than welcome to continue watching.
Oh, now we're in the after show. Okay.
We put the show room number and password in the chat. So if you want to come and join us and just us,
Talk to Sean.
come on in.
Come on in.
Appreciate ya.
There you go. Jump on in.
So, Sean, I talked to Andrew and Leah today, man. It seems like every class is getting bigger and bigger, dude. You're going to have to go back and do some infinite tumbles or something to keep up with the rate that they're training these people.
He's going back August 8th and 9th with me.
Are you really?
You and I are going back, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
There you go.
We wish that.
Yay.
It's
It's
not.
you, Dave.
It's not that tough. You just yank the strings real hard and poop your pants. It's. I
Just
mean,
keep ripping
it's easy.
I'm hoping to get back there sometime this year, too, because I got to go back down there. I'm going to get some tandem exemption with Travis, so I may have to go back down to Lake Wales anyways.
There you go.
I
Cool.
cannot do. Dave, I honestly could sit down, not in the hot tub with you right now, but sit down and have a beer and just talk about this
That'd be a
class.
picture. Oh,
So
man.
that leads me to a quick question though.
I'm not wearing any panties. What's that?
This has turned into a different show.
Hey, Brian
Nice.
Waller, how you doing?
when
I'm,
you
u-
go
I, seriously, I'm used to this, Tommy. It's all good.
when you go to do your tandem exemption, are you going to go do tandem trike or are you going to go do tandem foot?
Tandem strike.
Okay.
Yeah.
So does that
So-
mean that you're selling the Fresh Breeze so that way you can get a tandem trike?
So that's exactly what I did. I sold the Fresh Breeze tonight, and I'm planning on ordering something here very soon. And then once bugs, sorry, and
Are
then
you going to get a flash?
maybe.
Maybe.
Don't say maybe.
Maybe.
You know you are.
I can't.
Don't spoil it.
Yeah,
Hey,
we already
no.
talked about it the other night.
Shut up, JP.
Oh, now it's confirmed. I guess the only question what's left is what color is it going to be?
Well, okay. So, anyways, so I'm gonna order my new stuff, and then once I get that, I'm gonna sell the Parajet,
Oh yeah.
and then I'll just have
Are you-
one. And JP's
are
in
you
line
just-
for it.
Are you just going to have the tandem trike? Is that your plan?
Well, the idea is that the motor I get is going to be able to do foot launch, and then it can attach to the tandem. So I'm looking.
Oh, I gotcha.
I'm looking at the rider with the Moster 185, and then getting the Flash Cruiser with the tandem setup. So I'll be able to launch up to 210-pound passenger with me, which is my whole family. And
I'm
Skinny
surprised
Chef-
that Dave hasn't talked you into a black bull.
Well, I've already got my mind made up, and then so I'd be able to take up Skinny Chef Shane, and right,
Oh,
Shane.
you said 210. I got to lose about 20 pounds.
I think you should keep it back up, Dave. Plus, what's Brennan gonna fly?
I don't want to keep it back up because
No?
because I want look that Maverick Adamidi is going to sell quick, and to whoever wants it, it's a great paramotor. It's a great motor on it with the Adamidi. Brennan doesn't need to fight. Brennan, my son is going
Yeah,
into his
he-
senior year. He
Close.
works full time. He's getting his private pilot's license, which he's almost done. He volunteers at the church. He's going to be looking at. He's so freaking busy. If he makes 10 flights a year, that's probably more than what he makes. So these are depreciating assets. So why hang on to something that's just going to sit in my trailer and not
We
fly?
just lose them.
What's that?
No, he's still here.
Did you post something a little while back about Brennan going to the Air Force Academy?
He's not. He doesn't want to go military now. Now I don't know what he's going to do. He's 17. He can change his mind like he changes.
Oh yeah, no, I have no doubt. I just was curious.
Hopefully that's every day.
Because if I could rewind time, I'll tell you what, man, that'd be the route I'd go. I'd go
I
back.
don't know.
I'd go
I've
through the
tried
Air
to
Force
talk him
Academy
into
and
it, but
fly
he's not having
fly
it, right?
drones or whatever.
I know. So, but you know what? I told him this. I said, we go to a fly and you can take the trike up by yourself, or we can go fly together. I said, or I'll teach you how to fly it. And then when you're ready, I'll get you before Travis and we'll get you tandem exempt. And then you can take a girl up there and ask her to prom.
Ask her to prom.
Oh, no, he'll probably take a fixed wing and ask her to prom. That's what he's talked about doing.
Quick question for you guys. Tandem's kind of like a long-time goal of mine. What requirements do you guys think you need to have as far as flying hours, experience, all that kind of stuff, as far as getting your tandem rating?
I would say minimally 100% confidence.
100%
Gotcha.
confident.
Yeah.
So if you look at the One Up Adventures website, Travis has posted on there, he wants to see you have at least 100 hours under glider.
Right.
Gotcha.
I'm 45 hours shy.
That's about what I would call 100% confidence.
Yeah.
I think I have 100 hours this month.
Well, if that's the case, I'm at like 22% confident as far as hours go.
I mean, like I tell everybody, I said basically it's funny that Dave says 100 hours because the way I say it is every single time you go for a flight, you should get 1% better.
Yeah.
You should learn something every single flight, whether it's more bump tolerance or better wing control, better pitch control, better oscillation control, whatever. Every single time you fly, you should purposefully induce some kind of maneuver that makes you uncomfortable, and then learn comfort in those maneuvers. You should learn to slow the glider down without stalling it, and then you should learn to speed it back up, and you should learn to do that without having it do any pitch movement. You should learn to make turns with and without weight shift and feel what the difference between adding or not adding weight shift does. I mean, for example, I flew an 18-meter wing this weekend, and I generally fly a 23-meter wing. The difference in weight shift in a turn was the difference between a tip collapse or not, because the wing is so sporty that if you don't do all of the coordinated maneuvers together, the wing really doesn't want to play along. So that goes back to that Corvette analogy. It's like learning all of the finite maneuvers to the point where you can take basically any wing and say, I may not be, you know, doing barrel rolls and things, but I can confidently launch, fly, and land this wing without it being scary at all. Where basically every single landing is to your feet, with the exception of having like the wind switch direction and land in rotor and get dumped or something that's, you know, you should choose a different LZ. But certain things we can't control. But when I say 100% confidence, it's anytime I go to launch, I can put 100% faith that I will commit and exceed the launch. And then anytime I come in for a landing, it's where I want to be on my feet without damaging the motor, the wing, or anyone around me. So if you can do those basic things, then I think you're in the starting point of where you would want to start looking at tandem. I don't think that's what makes you ready. I think that's the starting point.
I bet a lot of people, Kevin, don't even consider what I should do to push myself to the next level, as you just described. Like, I would never even think about that. Like, you know, just landing on a spot. Well, that's kind of pretty easy. But, you know, as far as like, well, maybe I'll do big ears today, or maybe I'll do a whole 360-degree turn each way without touching my toggles.
Right.
So I think that's a great idea if someone were to put together a list of things to try to practice as a beginner.
You know, it's funny you say that.
That's a great thing.
Sean and I are working on that right now. We're calling it Paramotor games. So different maneuvers and different activities you can do with a paraglider to build skills.
Terrific.
Hey, David, you absolutely made my day. I don't know if you guys saw.
Did he stand up?
Yes, I.
Oh, my daughter's out here. I can't.
Oh man, I missed it. He stood up.
And my girl.
And
Oh
you're.
my God, I can't.
What's up, baby girl?
Is Daddy wearing shorts?
No.
Daddy's not wearing shorts?
No.
Gross. Gross.
Yes, I am.
Speaking of figures, in your SIV video where he tells you to pull figures and you pull the inner A's and do a full frontal. That was awesome.
Yeah, well, you know,
but you handled it
a lot of pressure.
You handled it like a champ, dude. So
you know, on the other hand,
though, you know,
I see a ton of my students when they go to pull big ears, they reach up and they grab the stabilo line and they yank the stabilo line.
That's what I always thought it was for the first.
I've yet to do it. Have not done it yet.
It's a totally benign thing to do. You just reach up and grab your outer A's and pull your wingtips in.
Yeah.
I mean,
once
it's seriously,
it makes
it's
sense.
so
Easy.
Benign.
Yeah.
All you got to do is collapse part of your wing, and you've never done it before. No big deal.
You know what's fun is when you do a full big ears, which is everything but the center A lines, and then stand on your speed bar.
Well, a lot of wings only have two.
No. You have three. So you have your outer A's, and then your inner A's, and then you have your innermost A's. So most times when you look at your Malians, there's three A lines that come off of it.
I have three.
When you do big ears, you grab the outermost A line. If you want to do big ears, you grab the first and second together and leaving only the center 3 cells or 4 cells exposed to the wind. You basically collapse the whole leading edge. Then you stand on speed bar. That gives you your absolute greatest descent on big ears. And I've been in a thermal in that condition and been going up.
Holy cow.
I can't even repeat all that.
That's where you get to a point where people talk about doing beeline stalls.
Like,
You start getting under
man.
when you get under clouds and you get into cloud suck and you're going up at 7 to 12 meters a second and big ears doesn't stop or arrest your ascent, then you have to go into a beeline stall. And that's a pretty benign stall as well. It's just, it's shocking on the wing when you open the wing back up.
Yes.
I highly underestimated paramotoring. I got a motor for free flight. I actually fly a Buzz Z5, thinking that was the only thing I wanted to do. I didn't want a motor. Man, after the past few weekends, I'm looking to get a motor wing now. It's amazing what you can do. And you're always with paragliding, you're always trying to find, that one perfect day where you can make it 4 hours to the mountain. And with the motor, it's like your chances of having that perfect day and getting the perfect flight are much greater. And I'm loving it.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I've been free flying for a really long time, and I love going free flying. The joy of no noise and just boating around above the ocean is fantastic. But
That was the other thing.
The ability
go
to
ahead.
drive 5 minutes from the house, fire up my motor, fly for an hour, land, come home, drink coffee, and do all of it before the kids are awake, make them breakfast, and start my day. It's perfect, because then I don't take away from my family. The hard part with paragliding is I leave way before the sun is up, drive all the way 3-4 hours to get to a flying site, then sit and wait all day for hopefully flyable conditions, and then have the same 3 or 4 hour drive back home, so where I don't get home till 10 or midnight. And
as a student, those conditions are even, as a student, those conditions are even less. So I mean, you might drive 4 hours and you got a decent chance of flying. As a student, our instructor wants it to be perfect.
Well, I mean, like, as an example, I went to the coast this weekend, and I had a friend of mine that, several of them in the paragliding club, that went to one of the coastal flying sites this weekend. Out of the comparison between me flying my motor and them going to the coastal flying sites, my buddy got 3 flights in for a little over 3.5 hours. I flew 9 flights for a little over 12 hours. So, I mean, just time in the sky. I mean, the only time you land is when you want to put more fuel in, or you want to take a break, or you want to get something to drink or whatever. And then with it being the beach, the beach has that like epic, beautiful joy of being able to do touch and goes anywhere and everywhere you feel like doing them, because the wind is so perfect. You don't ever consider kiting the wing to be a challenge. All you got to do is just stand there and hold it above your head, add throttle, lift your knees, and take off again. So you get that whole rock star vibe of cruising into a crowd, landing on the beach right on the point, kind of kiting the wing for a minute, looking at everyone taking pictures and stuff, and then you just lift the knee and fly back off. You're like, that's right. You guys all wish you were Batman right now.
At the same time, whenever you have a good day in free flight, it's, for me, that's hard to beat. Whenever you do get those right conditions, you do get the right ridge soaring, you're able to stay up for, as long as you want and do what you want. That's nice, but it's hard to get to that point to where you have the skill to do that without a motor.
So,
yeah, I mean, I tell everybody, in my opinion, that I think everybody should start out with a P2 course. If they want to be a paramotor pilot, I think they should go through a P2 course, become a basic paragliding pilot, understand basic thermals, understand basic coastal soaring, get the mechanics of kiting all sorted out. And then when you go to transition to a paramotor, you've already got the kiting facilitated, and all you're doing is adding a motor to your back and transitioning to the feel of a motor on you. And then if you decide that you want to go fly in the afternoon, and you take off at, say, 5 o'clock, and it's still a little bit thermic, it's not something that you go, oh shit, I'm scared, this might get me hurt. You just go, oh, okay, turn left, core, go up, free lift.
Yep.
So for me, I watched Paramotor Crazy Dave's video for his SIB, and the first probably 30 to 40 seconds of watching him fly, I was wondering, because I've never flown without a motor on my back, and he's being pulled up and he's free flying. It never dawned on me how quiet it must be without having a damn motor in your back.
It's amazing.
It's just the wind noise through the lines, man.
Yeah. I was just like, I've never thought about that. So
It's really nice whenever you pull up on like deer or elk, or I almost landed on a cow at one point. They can't hear you. They can't see you. You can, especially when you're ridge soaring, if you come up on animals, you can just watch them and they have no clue you're there.
Shane,
That's
I saw
awesome.
that same video. That was one of the best videos I've seen on YouTube in a long time. Very well done.
And Dave. Hey, no, seriously, I would love to sit down and have a beer with you and talk to you about that day. It, to me, is so fascinating. You did an excellent job on videotaping. You did an excellent job at editing.
Thank you.
And no, seriously, I've watched that thing since I talked to you and told you I've seen it 27 times. I almost doubled that since then, just so you know, because I show everybody. I'm like, this is what I'm going to go do. I'm going to go do a coconut. No, I'm not. I hope not.
Jane, you're gonna make David's head like so big. He's gonna be like, yeah, I'm all that. Yeah, thank you.
As long as he doesn't stand up, we'll all be fine.
Yeah. How did I know that was coming? What do I always say, Shane? Stop.
You know what? I tell this to my buddies all the time. We're just all people, all of us, and we're just all living an experience. There's, I don't get starstruck by anybody when I talk to them. No one named Tucker or Honeycutt. They're just, or Kyle. Everybody's just people. And we're all just trying to learn this stuff and experience it all. We're all equal, and I don't give a crap about it. But there's no egos, in my opinion.
That's right.
I don't have time for that. So I try to stay as humble as possible. I feel very blessed by that experience and being able to take that course, and I just feel so much more confident. And I just want to see everybody get to the level that they feel most comfortable with.
There you go.
Hey, just to make sure that we're on the record, I am definitely president of my own fan club.
There you go.
And just so you guys know, that's 65. Oh man, hold on. Just let me get rid of this.
Oh, gee. What?
Oh my God, why can I not get rid of the stupid? Oh, all right. Never mind. Just everybody just continue without me. I'm fine.
Oh, okay. All right.
Moving on.
Shane,
all right.
Okay. Shane, I want you to do something real quick. Can you grab, put that down in your hand, and I want you to just grab each one of the top part of your ear with both hands.
I can't.
No, grab with both hands. Grab your ears and just pull. Just try something. I'm going to teach you something. Now pull them away from your head. Congratulations, you just pulled big ears for the first time. Big ears.
Good job. I knew that was coming.
That's like
wow, David.
It's like tying a dragon bow. And
hey guys, we got a question from the chat.
Woohoo!
How many flights did each of you have before you struck out on your own after training? I assume he means
32.
32?
Yes.
Was this at school?
Yeah, it was at Four Winds. I had 32 flights, and then went to the compound and set my wing up.
I technically struck out on my own before I went to training. I did it backwards. So
I had 3 at Fisters. That was it.
Well, that's because it was
another guy that had 1.
You got everything you paid for.
After school, did you guys go and fly on your own, and meet up with other pilots and have other experienced pilots around to be like, oh, you don't want to do that, or anything like that? Or did you actually go and fly by yourself when you went out?
I flew by myself, which was a horrible idea because I flew into a tree, and then I kept flying. And then shortly after, it wasn't long after that I met up with the guys called the Tri-State Skywalkers, Brandon McLeod, Patrick, Brian, and Mark Ryder. And I think that built a lot of confidence, and not that they knew how to fly a trike because they didn't, but they were able to kind of give me some direction as far as what air to be flying in and what doesn't look good up in the sky. So I learned a lot from them. But I think most of my training and really my experience started growing after when I went to fly my PPG and got some good training there with my cotter. And it's just practice, man. It's just repetition and like Kevin said, always trying to get yourself 1% better.
I had
It's nothing,
26
nothing
flights.
big, small.
What's that, Brian?
I had 26 flights in an aviator when I left. Their goal was 25, so you can get your PPG rating. And so I had 26. I was lucky. Weather. I came home. It was almost 2 months before I was comfortable flying at home because Lake Will's wide open area, no rotor, and at home we have a lot of rotor. I have a runway in my front yard. We still have a lot of rotor to do.
Oh, wow.
It was Christmas Day. Not 2 months. I guess about a month after my training. After I got home before I flew by myself, but I'm up to 63 flights now, but I've yet to fly with anybody. Another paramotor anyway. So
I was a chicken for like the first 4 months and was always flying with someone. And I think it was after I did an interview with Kyle O, and he told me, you got to branch out. You got to go out there and do it. Then I finally go out there and try to fly by myself. But I stayed in the LZ. But Kyle helped kick me out there after about 4 months being a chicken.
That's
I'm gonna-
awesome. That's awesome.
I'm gonna pull Kevin and be a little bit long-winded here.
Oh, never
Here
do
we
that.
go. Everybody get comfortable.
Hang on. Let me look at Gotta pull a
So-
Kevin.
So
Okay.
when I was in school, when it come to kiting, the first 4 days, I was horrible. I, for the life of me, could not get the wing to stay up. I just couldn't understand it. Then we did the toe on day 3. I did great on that. And then on day 4, we put the motors on our back, and I took off, and I didn't have to reset up abort a launch until I got into, I think, 30 or 31 flights. Wow. And before, I'm telling you, I could not keep the wing up in the air for nothing kiting it. Then you put a motor on my back. I was checking the wing. It wasn't just, throttle and go. It was controlled. Even Lauren was like, where's this guy been the entire time we've been here? Because this isn't that guy. Well, the one guy that was the number one, I call him the A student, the best student of the class for kiting. Yeah, he's got 5 or 6 hours on his motor right now because he won't fly. He can't fly.
Oh.
He froze up when he got home because he didn't have anybody to fly with. So we met up in this past camping trip at Blue Springs. He and I flew together, and he's back into it now. He's I think got 11 hours or 12 hours since then. So I'm glad he decided to start flying. He's like, I fly the beach, and there's 100 people watching me every time I go to take off with cameras and stuff. I'm like, there's not 100 people at the beach at 6 o'clock in the morning. Trust me. He's like, oh yeah, that's true. So he's been flying a lot more in the mornings and not having so much pressure. So it's been pretty good.
Well, here's a quick story for you. Tommy, he told me yesterday when we went out flying, or the day before, that he saw me the first day. Actually, Tommy, go ahead and tell him about that. That you saw me kiting and you wondered, man, what's up with this guy?
I was sitting there watching him fly around yesterday, and he comes through. It's right at dark. He's got his lights on, and he's foot dragging, and he's coming up, and I'm just like, man. I remember whenever I first met this guy, I met him at the training hill, and he couldn't even get his wing inflated to get off the hill.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing I know, I turn around, I see this guy doing foot drags and stuff, and I'm like, man, it made me more mad at myself more than anything that I haven't chased it as hard as he has. But yeah, it's super weird to be in. I've been doing this with mountain flight and motor flight now for 3 years, and I've got quite a few mountain flights. But as far as motor flights, it was intimidating by myself, and it still is, not knowing where the winds are. If I go to the mountain, there's always an instructor there to tell you winds are good, the uppers are good. Just seeing Sean kind of jump out on his own and still kind of makes me mad. I feel like I need to be better than him. I
I
was
gotta-
showing him up at a training hill, and now all of a sudden, I'm watching him foot drag past me. It's like, dang it.
Well, that's
All
because,
right.
that's because I've been going out and flying like every morning and every night as much as I can, and I get about at least 3, if I get a morning flight, 4 hours a day flying. So
Wow.
every 2 weeks, I'm having to do a 30-hour maintenance on my motor.
All right, I've got a question for everybody, and I'm probably gonna. Ooh, I just got a bug in my ear, and I'm running out of light here, so I probably won't be too much longer. So here's the question for everybody. Linda, you can go first if you want. All right. So the question is this.
Okay, go ahead.
At what point, maybe Sean should go first. At
Yeah.
what point did you get to the confidence level you had hoped to get? How many flights did it take for you to get to the level of confidence that you had hoped to get? And if you haven't gotten to that confidence level yet that you hope to be at, when do you think you'll get there, or what will it take to get there?
It took the SIV course to be 100% confident where I am now, that I don't mind I foot drag on big ears. So
Wow.
if it wasn't for the SIV course, I'd still be flying at 1,000 feet and looking for LZ and just going, okay, be good, don't do too much. But yeah, SIV
I've been
course.
flying for 3 years. I get less confident every day. I learn more every day.
We
There you
already
go.
established the fact that you don't fly. You live in a place that doesn't let you fly. You just own gear so you could pick up women.
Lies.
Don't try to
Lies.
tell a different story.
Oh, funny.
Just in
I
case.
flew
That's
this
true.
weekend. I flew in some pretty highly thermic air. It was a lot of fun.
I bet it was.
Anyone else?
Anytime you fly thermals, it's always fun.
I'm gonna go ahead and say I'm not at the confident level that I want to be at. First of all, the poker run really, I don't want to say it humbled me, but it made me understand just how much I don't like when my wing does things above my head that I don't think it should be doing.
Spooked you.
I don't know if it spooked me. I just wasn't comfortable with it. It kind of just makes me I want to say uneased. I mean, you can hear me in the video. I'm not like scared of I'm just like, I just don't like this doing the thing it's doing. So I think after this SIV course, I will have the confidence. I'm hoping to have the confidence.
Yeah.
And I want to know I don't know what my wing can do. That's the thing. I don't know how much of it shooting forward or backwards can it take before it does something stupid and then I have to correct it or what have you. So I think
understand
a
that
lot.
one.
so
Yeah,
so
I understand
once
A lot.
once I get to the point, I go to this SIV course and they're like, do this, and I can barely get the wing to collapse. I'm going to be like, the next time I'm into the wing doing the little thing above me, I'll be like, yeah, whatever, dude. I'm not even looking up at you because you're not doing nothing. And that's my goal.
I want to ask this of Sean, since Sean and I have both been through this SIV course a couple weeks apart. Sean, when I hit a bump now and it catches me off guard, for a moment I'll have a like, whoa, what was that? And then I'll start laughing like, I got this. It's no problem. What's your experience for you now, now that you've been through the SIV?
Now I cannot find enough rowdy air to even, startle me.
Yeah.
Great.
I mean, it's just after you find out, after you're in the SIV course and you pull brake as far as you can, and you see it stall, and then as soon as you go like this, it goes and inflates. You pull B's all the way down as hard as you can, trying to make it collapse, and as soon as you let it go, it goes woof, opens up. I mean, you try to collapse this wing and it doesn't want to collapse. You do crazy things at the SIV course, and you see the wing go way in front of you and way back and off to the side and stuff, and you're still and you're wondering, next time I'm gonna try an infinite tumble because
I
almost
do
like
you've
been through the worst of it. It can't get any worse than this, right?
And also too, when you finally pull a reserve and you realize you pull a reserve and I don't even feel a difference. You know that when you're just flying normal, the possibilities of you something happening where it just collapses and you fall is impossible. I mean, it just really feels so solid up there.
Yeah.
Question for Dave.
So where you're at.
What's that?
I want to be, every time I've been flying, I want to go up there and learn something new. I have yet to kill my engine at 500 feet or more and take it back down to the ground and do a dead stick. There's so many goals I've set for myself. I thought I've got less than 30 hours now of flight time. I figured when I got to 50, I might know it all, but I know that is so far from true. I think I'm gonna continue learning. Like forever.
Easy answer. Just buy a flat top for me. You'll get all the engine outs you can handle.
All the practice you want.
No, honestly though, to answer Dave's question, I think, you know, the honest answer is two parts. It's a philosophical answer and then it's a real answer. And, you know, the real answer is I don't think I'll ever get to the point where I'm as comfortable as I want to be in my own head.
Exactly.
And then I think, you know, the philosophical side of that is that there's so much information and so much talent and so much skill that goes into this that even the best acro pilots in the world will tell you that they don't know everything. So I think it's just one of those self-recognize that you're happy where you are and that there's always something more to gather.
There you go. Hey, David, I have to say something really funny. Okay, because it's getting so dark, you know, you see your face in there. You're like what? You're like that guy from the movie The Shining.
Here's Johnny.
I'm about to sing I Can Feel It Coming in the Air tonight.
Actually,
You're like spooky.
She said the dark. She said the darker it gets. She said the darker it gets, the better you look. I don't know what that means.
I'm gonna go get some clothes on. I'm getting kind of cold.
Oh, that's so
out
funny.
here.
Okay. All right.
All
All
right.
right, guys. Thanks for letting me join. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks,
All
Sean.
right.
Enjoy, buddy.
Love you,
Kevin,
man.
thanks, Shane.
Good night,
See you guys.
Okay. Bye. I had to say that. I just had to because it was like.
Oh, poor
anybody's
Dave.
seen that movie, The Shining? That's to remind me of. Yeah.
Poor Dave is supposed to be taking a sabbatical from YouTube, and he just can't. He just can't.
Hey, shout out to my boy Derek Trout in the chat tonight. How you doing, buddy?
There you go.
Oh, Derek. Derek's here?
Yeah, I was in a class with him.
Derek,
Oh,
Secretly though, it's not Derek. It's actually his wife.
Uh-oh.
I think they're both in here.
Tell Derek,
Probably.
come on.
They're
Yeah,
a
the
power,
end too. What's
they're a
up,
power
girl?
couple because they both fly.
Yeah.
Jump on the ship.
Derek
I
was
was
able to
lucky enough
find
watch
himself a
both of them
unicorn.
train.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. Derek's got it made. A wife
Yeah,
that flies.
Derek found himself a unicorn. Not many of them.
I do not want my wife to fly with me or around me or near me or no. She can stay on the ground. I can still hear her yelling from me.
I'm
all
gonna
the way
get
up
my
there.
I'm gonna get my tandem exemption, and my very first passenger is gonna be my daughter.
Yeah.
Yikes.
She wants to go fly with me so bad every single time. It's dad.
But not yet. You got to have a license and everything to fly somebody on the tandem, right? You have to
Yeah.
get
So
licensed and all
basically,
that.
like I tell people, I said, you know, I've had multiple reportings with the FAA, and I'm on a first name basis with my local inspector now.
Well, that's a good thing.
The bottom line that is pretty simple is they don't give two craps about you as a pilot, as a person. Their main thing is the care, concern, and consideration about the bystanders on the ground around you. So if you want to go take a rag and a weed whacker and go send yourself off some pier, that's your business. They don't give a shit about that. But the minute you take a passenger, you then put somebody else at risk. And that's where they say, we want to know that you are competent and confident enough to not hurt that person, let alone get them killed. So that's why you can get a student pilot's license at, you know, just 7 hours, and you can go fly solo and cruise around the country in an airplane solo at just as little as 7 hours. But you can't take anyone with you. The whole point of taking someone with you is you have to be able to show that competence that says, I'm a qualified, certified pilot. And it has nothing to do with being able to operate the airplane. It's being able to operate the airplane in a safe way for people around you and the passengers. So that's why we get to play in this 103 category and not have to have the regulations like light sport does or any of the other regulations, because it's one person going up, one person getting hurt, and they don't care. Like, I hate to say it, but they really don't care.
Wow, I was watching some videos today about parachuting and things that went bad. That people actually survived it, but it was scary stuff. It was like things can go wrong. You know what I mean?
Linda was watching parachuting videos. She fell for it.
Yeah, I saw some. No, I was watching some of the stuff.
Hey, when it's 120 degrees
well, no,
in
my
Arizona,
friend
the only
used
way
to-
you get
okay.
cool is falling
No.
from the troposphere, okay?
Now, I want to say not parachuting. I want to say skydiving. Skydiving. That's what I wanted to say.
Skydiving and parachuting is one and the same.
Okay, there, I said it right then. Thank you.
Talking about
I was-
parachuting off the side of a building with an umbrella.
They had this lady, some guy took this, she was celebrating her 82nd birthday, and he took her out on, on the parachute, on the diving, and you guys got to watch this video because he almost lost this poor woman.
Yeah, she almost she folds up and almost comes out of the harness.
Did you see that? Did you see
I've seen it, yeah.
Yeah. That poor thing. I was like, oh shit, no. But you know what? The scary thing is, like, David said he's getting a tandem. So does Dave have to take a class for that, or he's already trained for tandem?
He's working on it now.
Okay, because I could totally do it with him. I'd be like, yeah, I can do this. I would trust him.
Derek is correct in the chat. He said, Linda, you need to go on YouTube and subscribe to the Friday Freakout. That is a really good YouTube channel that'll show you all kind of people freaking out, doing all kind of weird stuff. And
okay.
It's basically a bunch of skydiving fails, line over malfunctions, double malfunctions, guys that are not paying attention to altitude awareness. And you have in skydiving, you have an AAD. It's an automatic activation device. It fires off at 1,800 feet. You get knocked out, jumping out of the plane. Well, if you fall below that altitude, not paying attention to altitude awareness, and you're holding on to somebody and you're both looking each other in the face, both your canopies fire off at 1,800 feet. It's videos like that.
Oh, nice. Thanks, Tommy.
Videos like that. It's just stupid stuff, honestly. It's stupid mistakes. That's the one thing about skydiving and paragliding that both of these sports seem to be extremely, extremely safe. You were talking about, I've got a bunch of motorcycles myself. I do tons of track dates. On a track, it'd be as safe as I want until I loop it out, popping a clutch in third gear and just loop it out. Skydiving's the same way. It's a super safe sport, but you do have people that are having so much fun, turning formations that they don't pay attention to altitude, and there you go. You next thing you know, your canopies are open, both of them, and they're your backup parachutes. They're your reserve parachutes. So it's not like you can cut them away. Now you're entangled with your buddy, looking at each other. I try not to look at Friday Freakout or paragliding fails. I don't want the ground suck, man. It's basically what it is. It's looking at people that have made stupid mistakes. As long as you mind your P's and Q's, you don't have to worry about that stuff.
I don't know anybody that makes stupid mistakes, like running into bales of hay or anything.
Hey.
Seriously. Hey, Phil Army is my favorite TV show. Phil Army, I watch it every day. I'm hoping I'll see my video on there one day. I'm pretty sure I made the Tucker Got Crash review series.
But I knew right away that you were going to make the Tucker crash series. I could have told you that right away. That video is
I'm looking forward to seeing what he has to say. He
Brian.
met me, but I'm pretty sure he's not gonna hold back on me any.
Brian, you should have changed the name of your video to Hey.
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 Spelled with a bunch of A's. H-A-A-A-Y.
I was convinced you were just training to kick an elephant, you know?
Man. I watched that video still. I've watched that video several times. But every time I see that bale of hay coming, I'm like, son of a gun. I know it's gonna happen, but I still gotta watch. And God, dude.
I see your foot fall back, and I'm like, oh, I can feel it.
That's nothing.
Brings back good memories.
I hate to run away at the precipice of the show, but I gotta go take care of the children now.
Oh, get the hell out of here, slack.
I'm at the same point, guys. I gotta load up stuff, get ready for work tomorrow. But it's been super nice meeting all y'all.
You guys want to watch something? You guys want to see something really funny? Watch this.
I don't know.
Hey Alexa, turn off the lights.
Hey Kevin,
Go to
before you
bed,
go,
JP.
man, I really appreciate everything, dude. Just listening to you last week and this week makes me realize how much more I don't know. You obviously know your stuff when it comes to paramotors, and I look forward to learning from you, brother.
Well, like I tell everybody, man, this is a lifelong marathon of a sport. And you know, I started this in 2002, and even before that, because I was raised in an aviation family. My grandpa was a pilot, my dad was a pilot. I honestly don't remember life without having propellers, pistons, seats, radios, you know, talking airspace, talking weather, you know, understanding who's, what's, and whys. And as it all relates to aviation, it all relates, you know, the same to paramotoring and paragliding. So, you know, I get to say that I lived a very blessed childhood that a lot of people don't get to do. I make the joke all the time, at $6,000 for a motor and $4,000 for a wing, I wonder why more inner city kids aren't doing this. But you know, it really is a blessing, and I take it for granted some days. And honestly, I get super anxiety when I see the fly-in videos that everybody posts in Florida that I don't get to go to. And I sit here and stew because it's, you know, for me, it's not even the flying. I can go fly right here at the airport. It's the fellowship, being around the other people that talk flying,
There you go.
being around other people that share that compassion and emotion for helping one another. Because as you guys know, or will find out, you know, when you have motor problem or a prop, or, you know, take a line in your wing or something, there's somebody there on the field that will run over and say, dude, fly my prop, or I got another wing in the car, we'll get that one sent off, or, you know, this is who to order lines from, I get them, you know, 24 hours, no big deal. And it reassures you that we all make mistakes, because how would that guy know where to get lines if he didn't need them? How would that guy know how to get a wing repaired if he didn't need it, kind of a thing? So it goes back to that seeking advice from people that have been there before you, whether it's training or whether it's gear or just general flying advice. We always have something to contribute, whether we've been flying for 2 weeks or for 20 years, because we all learn at a different rate. We all learn different information. And if we can share that together and do it in a humble way where nobody has to feel like they know something more than another guy, I mean, facts are facts and opinions are opinions, but as long as we can sit and get along and share that together, we all grow together. And I think that's the most important part of this sport, more so than the flying. Like I said,
Kevin,
the flying is easy. It's the fellowship.
So Kevin, if you're not worried about flying, you're just worried about hanging out here in Florida. I mean, a plane ticket isn't that expensive. I got plenty of room for you. I'm just saying.
There you go.
You touched the most important aspects, camaraderie.
Yes.
What's the big thing between self-training and not self-training? One of the things I forgot to bring up was just when I went through the program, the aviator, you know, going down there, it was 8 of us training and a dozen instructors. And I'm friends with every one of them now. And tons of other people after that. I mean, just I've become part of a new family when I learned to fly paramotors. And everybody is just so supportive and positive. And you know, it's a great thing to be part of. You know, not just flying the paramotors, but the family and the camaraderie that you get is incredible.
I
Yeah,
don't even fly yet, okay? But I've been like for over a year now, year and a half. I just, start following everybody in Robert's show and all that, and you guys. I'm learning so much from everybody, and yeah, you guys are all like family to me, and
well, it's so interesting to me
it's so
because
fun. It is
I
it's
come.
so fun.
It is. But it's so
I love
interesting
it.
to me because I come from the paragliding side of this world, right? And in the paragliding side, it's kind of the same, but then again, not at all. Paragliding, to me, reminds me a lot more of like the high school clique. There's those acro guys. No, I mean, seriously though, it's like there's the acro pilots and they hang out in the acro crew. And then there's the XC pilots and they hang out in the XC crew. And then there's the guys who
Stoner
come
pilot.
out four or five times a year and they kind of stand around and hum about the weather and the windsock and things. And it's not like one combined communitive group of paragliders on the hill. It's like 5 or 6 little mini groups that all come together. And within those mini groups, everyone knows each other and everyone's kind of friends. But these 4 or 5 guys will all call each other to go fly, but they won't call you. These 4 or 5 guys will call you to go fly every time, but they won't call them. And it just creates these small little cliquish groups within the paragliding community that when you're all together and you're all flying at the same site, everyone has a blast. But the minute you get apart, it kind of reminds me of that backyard barbecue where you shake hands with that acquaintance and you say, why don't we hang out more? And the minute it turns into Monday, you just don't call them or don't make a date. It just doesn't, it just doesn't come to fruition. It's just a different environment. The paramotor group, if you're I call it a cool person. If you're, if you come at it from a humble point of view and you don't try to get too big for your britches too fast, then everybody just kind of accepts you. And if you're a POS who wants to talk smack, talk trash, give advice that's beyond your skill level or that's something that's just plain old stupid, you get weeded out really fast. And this group we have, it's hilarious how genuine everyone is.
POS, is that pilot of success?
Pile of steamer.
Actually, I've been lying the whole time, man. I've never flown in my life.
I love all you guys, okay?
This is just CG. I didn't take this picture.
I love all you guys.
I didn't take this picture in Class G clouds. I didn't do that at all. That's just CG.
Wait.
I don't even know what that G is. Don't even know what that means.
You live in Florida. It's all Charlie. It doesn't matter.
I know, right? Except for the Melbourne airport. But this is my daughter.
Hi, daughter.
Hello.
You can't hear them. They just said that you look like your dad and you're beautiful.
Oh.
I was just gonna say I'm really happy she got her mom's
Your
genes.
daughter.
Actually, she got my hair for sure.
So my daughter came and told me a fun dad joke the other day.
Uh-oh.
She says, Dad, you want to know something funny? And I said, what's that? She goes, did you know that diarrhea is hereditary? And I said, is it? She goes, yeah, it runs in your genes.
Yeah, my daughter told me a joke the other day too. You ready for it? She said, what's the difference between a joke and 2 dicks? She can't take a joke. She can't take a joke.
Ooh.
Oh,
Man.
okay, this is the late night show now.
I don't think your daughter told you that joke.
Wow.
I almost don't believe you.
Oh, she's freaking hilarious.
I love the silly old dad jokes. Like, what kind of bee has milk? A booby.
Yeah, boobies. I can tell them jokes all day long. My daughter is like, she's a spitting image of me, except for she has boobies. That's it. I mean, she's hilarious. Dude. She kills me. And
Hey
never.
guys, I think we're losing everybody in the chat.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we just got 3 more viewers.
Let me look back here. Oh, 16 watching.
Really? That's awesome.
I know.
right,
watching
guys.
the
Well,
after show
honestly,
right now?
I could sit here all day and crack jokes, but I do need to go make dinner. My wife's gonna get mad at me, so I gotta
Yeah,
go.
you know I'd be in the doghouse, Kevin.
All right, hungry helper.
I'm already in the doghouse. I'm sitting in a gas-filled garage sniffing fumes. That's why I'm laughing. It's not Shane's jokes.
Oh,
I
yeah.
disagree. All right, Kevin. Have a good night, man.
All right, guys. You guys take care. Be safe.
All right. See you this week.
All those dad jokes, I think what we'll do is we'll cut the live stream, but you guys can stay in Zoom all you want to. We're going to go ahead and cut the audio stream. So everyone that has been listening to this but not watching, we appreciate it. If you ever want to come over here and actually see what we're doing, we're over here at clearproptv.com. If you want to just listen to us because you don't want to look at our cute faces, you can go to paratalk.org and subscribe to our iTunes or our audio podcast only. If you want to come over and check out the coolest place that looks like Facebook, but it's just for pilots, go over to iloveppg.org. And of course, go over to iloveppg.com. Check out our merch. Have a wonderful day, everyone. We appreciate you coming, and we'll see you next Monday at 7 Central.
8 Eastern.
I know, huh?
Hey, just real quick, there's 17 thumbs up, just so you know. That's phenomenal.
That's awesome.
That is,
Hey,
that's
we're getting there. We're getting
that's
there.
awesome.
That's, you know why?
Been
Because
streaming
I'm
them out
not,
of TV,
'cause I'm not
haven't
here.
done.
That's right.
Yeah. So this was episode number 22, self-training, and we'll catch you next week. Thank you very much, y'all.
Oh.
So
Make that 18 thumbs up.
here we go. So
Oh snap, that's good. I mean, that's impressive. 18 for having. I think we had the most of 17 people in the chat. That means almost. I mean, there's 19 now, but
Yeah.
that's pretty impressive.
Leaving.
I'm technologically challenged, man. I've been using my phone this whole time on a Zoom meeting, but I've been streaming it on my TV on YouTube. So I can't enter the chat really. The only way I can chat is through my phone. So.
Right. Well, I'm actually using my TV as